What's up, Switches?
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Cicero.
And this is Switching Lanes.
Today's topic?
Let's talk about sex.
Right. I know most of our audience is probably around our age, so a lot of us can remember good times. And thinking about the episode when Florida was trying to encourage Walona to talk to Penny about sex, to give her that birds and bees talk. And Walona was real reluctant about it. She kept saying, she kept telling Penny, whose friend is 13 and pregnant, she kept saying the girl had the stomach mumps. So she wasn't sure. Florida kept telling her, just instructing her, Florida's a vet in the game. She got 3 grown
20
kids.
plus years experience.
Yeah, she got 3 grown children. So she's trying to give her some advice on how to approach that subject with her. And, she made it sound very easy. And, of course, she said she started with her kids when they were, 11.
Right.
As young as 11. So how do you approach that topic with your kids? Like, you have a daughter. I have a son.
Right. I actually...
you have a son, too, but you've gone through
my first experience was with a girl. Right.
Yeah.
I think most people's biggest issue is figuring out the appropriate age. And I don't think there's a set age. I think the thing is, it's about their environment, your circumstances, things like that. For example, with me and my daughter, I was facing generational curses. We had that trend of teen pregnancies in our family. Mm-hmm. So I was a teen mother. My mother and 2 of my sisters were as well. So for me, it was about doing the research. What is the common denominator here? Mm-hmm.
Did it make you afraid to talk to her? Or did it push you to talk to her?
I think it motivated me more. Okay. I felt like that it was absolutely necessary for me to have an open discussion with her where she didn't feel like she was being beat down. Mm-hmm. It needed to feel informative, not a lecture. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely needed her to understand that she could come and talk to me about anything at any time because of our trend, the pattern that we had in our family with the teen pregnancies. So I was absolutely motivated to have that discussion with her at 11.
Yeah.
And we would start out with small talks, small things here and there, not all at once. And eventually I had a full sit down with her. And when I say full, baby, I was detailed. We were sitting at the computer on the internet because when I had my talk with my daughter about sex, we discussed pregnancy. We discussed STDs. We researched STDs for her to see what some of the photos looked like. She was in a controlled environment receiving this information. It was just her and I at home so that she would be comfortable to ask questions.
Yeah.
She had some questions and then some things she was like, oh, God, Mama, that's terrible. Don't make me look at this.
Right.
So, but I felt it was a necessary part of the process because you need to understand the consequences of engaging in sex. You need to understand that it can be a beautiful thing at the right time with the right person.
Right, correct.
So I wanted her to receive the gravity of the situation, you know what I mean? So that she didn't think that it was such a light topic.
Yeah.
If we're not having this talk with our children at home, they have so many other influences in their life.
Oh, child.
Today's television, today's music,
the
books, absolutely. Everything is so over-sexualized.
Yeah.
They're seeing it daily. And when they're not seeing it daily, guess what? They have friends at school that are talking about it.
Right.
And they may or may not be actually doing it, but they're gonna give that impression.
They're making light of it.
Right. They're making light of it as if it's nothing, so you don't think it's a big deal to try it.
Right. And you feel almost pressured to try it, kind of like we did when we were in school.
Absolutely.
So on the flip side of that, my mom was a teen parent, and honestly, I don't know how far back into my family that goes as far as generational curses. But I know my mom had 3 daughters, so she was adamant about us not having children. However, that sex talk didn't come from her. The extent of the sex talk from my mom was, you're not supposed to be having it. Don't bring no babies in my house. And then at the time when I did go on birth control, which was in high school, that doesn't give you permission to do it.
Absolutely.
When they give you the bag of condoms at the health department, she snatched that up. These are not for you because that's not going. I'm not about to give you permission to have sex. So I learned from Jane. You remember that little purple book we got in school with the little girl on the front? Jane.
Yes.
I learned from Jane about my body and the changes my body was going to go through. I mean, like my mom didn't really talk to me about the cycle. She didn't even talk to me about my menstrual cycle. I got that from Jane. So I got
Unfortunately.
I can recall in junior high, in 8th grade, sitting in the gymnasium for health class, looking at that video of that lady giving birth vaginally. And that scarred me.
I'm sure there was a little scarring involved.
Even though I was an adult when I had my son, I was 24, going on 25 when I had my son. Even then, I was like, yeah, do I have to push that out of me? Like, are we going to cut him out? Can he,
Right. What are my options here?
What are my options? Like, do I have to literally push? And then they told me he was going to be 9.5 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, yeah, I ain't pushing that up out of me.
Wow.
But, I mean, it's the conversations just never, around me growing up, never took place unless it was in school.
Unfortunately, your mother's approach to it is the approach the response a lot of black mothers have with their children, especially their daughters, because you think by not giving them the information, it'll stop them from doing it. Absolutely not. They're going to find the information. And guess what? Google is everybody's best friend now. What you're not telling them, they're getting it off Google. So half of it is incorrect. Ooh. And when they're getting it from their friends, all of it is incorrect. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to go out and experiment on their own. And they're not going to come and say, I'm thinking about trying it. They're not going to come and tell you, I've already tried it. Right. Because they don't feel open to have that discussion with you. Absolutely.
And so I think that is what also, I won't say messed me up, but it also makes it harder for me to have that conversation with my son. My son is 15, and he's going out to high school. Well, he's in high school. He's going to 10th grade. So that's 2 years left in school. And it's like, with him, you would think I should have already had that conversation. And we haven't had that conversation per se. I mean, I've asked questions.
Right. To see what he knows.
To see what he knows and to see where his head is. But he gets a little bit, I won't say standoffish, but I can confidently say his dad has had this conversation with him. Okay, great. So that's my saving grace. The fact that his dad is so hands-on, and his stepmom as well. His stepmom has 4 sons.
Oh, wow.
So I don't want to sound like that, mama, but I'm like, girl, high five, tag, you're it.
No, but I absolutely understand
I'm glad I actually have that backup.
You may not
know how to approach that.
You didn't address it head on by trying to sit him down and have the talk yourself, but you connected him to the right sources. Right. You connected him to people you trust, his father and his stepmother, to be able to have that talk and give him the proper information, as opposed to just leaving your child hanging out here trying to figure it out on their own.
We definitely not gonna have him out there on his own. But the way we've done it, I've asked my questions, and then of course they've asked their questions and had their conversation. Then we get together without him and we talk about where we are with it and how he's responding to it. Right. So it's actually been a helpful setup. Just to have that support system is like, oh my God, 3 parents is like the best. Absolutely. 3 parents is the best. Absolutely. So it's just having them to help me sort through that with him, and I'm confident that he's not active right now. I'm pretty confident with that. So I just want to make sure. And then Isaiah's a smart kid. He's a smart kid. Right. He's that kid he's gonna read. He's gonna research things. Like, he's not your average 15-year-old. He wasn't your average 12-year-old. Like, he's gonna research things. He's gonna read things, and he's kind of a matter-of-fact type kid.
Well, you also have to take a lot of comfort in knowing that you have a great relationship with him, and he and his father have a great relationship. Yeah. So, with that being said, you absolutely can take comfort in knowing that when he has questions or if something happens, he feels open enough to come to one of you and say, hey, I need to talk. I really appreciate that, and that's why my son is 11 now, and that's why I'm gearing up to have that talk with him as well. So, like I said before, one of the biggest questions is what's the appropriate age, and I think there is no specific age. I think that's individually based on that child, because you can absolutely tell, certain things about certain kids. With that being said, also, though, you have to ask yourself, do you give girls different information than you give boys? Is the talk with a girl more intensive, or do you have more information for that girl than you do for the boy? My opinion is you're getting all the same information, including the information about the menstrual cycle and the bodies and so forth.
I think it depends on where they are.
What do you mean?
Because like you said, your son is 11. where do you start that conversation? I think it depends on where they are.
Right.
And I think to get to that point, you open that door early on. Like, I've always given my son that talk saying, hey, I'm mom, here's dad. You can talk to us about anything. Nothing's ever wrong.
Right.
You can never say the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
We can't tell you how you're supposed to feel.
Absolutely.
We can't get mad at you about how you feel. So when you open that door of communication up, I think it'll help. And I mean, theoretically, I think that could help. And they would be able to come to you and say, hey, Mom, I'm ready to talk about this. Or, Mom, I like a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Mama, this boy's been feeling me.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, I think it just depends on the kid and where they are at that age,
their
and that level of maturity, that
right,
mindset.
Right.
So, you know, where my son is at 15, I'm pretty sure we could probably cover a lot of ground.
I completely agree with that. And that's why I'm all for the beginning with the little mini conversations here and there and working up to the talk, you know, as opposed to just sitting them down and drowning them with information. Guess what they didn't do? They didn't receive any of that information because you just drowned them to death, dumping a bump. Yeah, you just dumped a bunch of stuff on them, you know.
It's like school.
But
and we have to remember that they also are going to get those statistics in school.
Absolutely.
Especially with mine being a high schooler now.
Absolutely.
Going to 10th grade. He came home last year with some information saying that, hey, they're going to give us this information. Do you consent to us, you know, to be receiving it? So they're going to get the statistics. They're going to get,
regardless.
They're going to get that the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's up to us to also talk to them about, like you said, how it could be a beautiful thing and when that's supposed to come versus, let's just go out here and just have fun.
And what are the reactions and the consequences? Because it can be beautiful, but you can also have a lot of other things involved. You know, you have the risk of STDs and HIV and, you know, it's just so many things going around out here. Pregnancy is absolutely not your only consequence. That's why it really bothers me when I hear a lot of parents of the male child saying, well, it ain't my problem. My you know, I ain't the one with a daughter. I ain't the one that's got to worry about a pregnancy. Actually, you are. If your child becomes if your child becomes a pregnant, that's part of your responsibility now. A parent, I said a pregnant. But if your child gets someone pregnant, that's part of your responsibility now. You need to teach him how to be a father. And so stop being dismissive because you're not the parent of the girl. I think you should give them all the same information so that he understands what he's dealing with as well in depth. And we don't have so many men body shaming women when it comes to their menstrual cycle and other things going on because it's been explained to them.
Right.
And speaking of statistics, per the Center for Disease Control, 690 people for every 100,000 people in Tennessee are living with HIV.
Wow.
And that's compared to 280 people per 100,000 nationwide. So that's pretty high for
we have a very high rate.
City of Memphis. Absolutely.
We have very high rate. We have one of the highest rates in the country.
Yes, unfortunately we have. I think we're in the top 8 for the country.
Wow. Wow.
30% of teenagers in high school admit that they have never had the sex talk with their parents. 40% of high schoolers admit to having sex. 10% admit to having sex with 4 or more people.
Wow.
And 46% of all students who admit to being sexually active also admit that they never used a condom. So we absolutely need to open up and talk to our children. Make sure that they understand that that door is open for us to discuss anything at any time.
Right. Remember, it's not what they know, it's what they don't know that can get them into way more trouble. Well, we're about to switch lanes and end this thing. But before we go, don't forget to check us out on Twitter at Just Switch Lanes, Instagram at Switching Lanes Podcast, and look for us on YouTube and Spreaker. You can also hit us up via email, switchinglanes901@gmail.com. Let us hear those topic suggestions. We're looking out for them, and we've already gotten a few in.
Absolutely, and we love all the feedback.
And last but not least, join our Switching Lanes Facebook group where the conversations continue.
Until next time, love, Jen, and Cicero.